So maybe the Mariners should just face the best pitchers in baseball all the time. For some inexplicable reason, that's actually worked out pretty well for them thus far. We're going to be talking about last night's win in Toronto and get you set for a big series in Boston on today's episode of Locked On Mariners. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is Thursday, May 19th, 2022, and this is the Locked On Mariners podcast. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all platforms. I am your host, Gonzalez, reporter and editor at allseahawks.com, joined as always by my co-host, Colby Patno. Be sure to follow the show on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Dane Gonzalez, that's DANEGNZLZ, and Colby at CPAT11, that's CPAT11. Be sure to also check out our Patreon at patreon.com/control the zone. We typically post 2 additional shows on there every week and get into some bigger ideas and bigger topics, whereas Locked On Mariners covers more of the day-to-day with the M's. We also get into some non-baseball discussions on there as well. It's a fun time, so be sure to check it out. Again, that's patreon.com/control the zone. And if this is your first time joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast, welcome to the show. If you like what you hear, give us a follow or subscribe wherever you're listening to this. And if you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and give this video a thumbs up. We greatly appreciate it. So we're going to be talking about last night's win in Toronto, 5-1 win over the Blue Jays. We're also going to be talking about tonight's matchup with the Red Sox, starting a 4-game set down in Boston, and we're also going to be looking at the minor leagues a little bit, talking some Kyle Lewis, talking some Evan White, Emerson Hancock, maybe even Edwin Arroyo. We'll get into a lot of it, but let's get into to last night's win. The Mariners go into last night's game trying to avoid a sweep. They're facing Kevin Gausman, who's arguably been one of the best pitchers in baseball, if not the best pitcher in baseball this year, here in the early going. And they get 4 hits off of him in the first inning and only walk away with 1 run, however, because, of course, bases loaded, less than 2 outs. What are the Mariners going to do? They're not going to be able to capitalize. This time it was Julio Rodriguez grounding into a double play, which is a pretty rare occurrence. But, with how hard he hits the ball, that's going to happen sometimes. Yeah, they ended up scoring 5 runs in this game. Cal Raleigh with a home run, Ty France with a home run, Abraham Toro with an insurance home run as well at the end of this game. But the story in this one, Marco Gonzales, who... that dog in him meme that's been going around the last couple of weeks or so, I think that is just made for Marco Gonzales. He's been the MVP of this road trip thus far, right, Colby?
Yeah, not a lot of options, so
True.
On a 3-3 road trip so far. But yeah, anytime you outpitch, and this is just, I guess technically he did because his team won both times, but whatever, semantics. Anytime you outpitch Max Scherzer and then followed up by outpitching Kevin Gausman in the same calendar week, that's a pretty good week, I would say. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it was another gutty performance. He's going up against a guy who is his superior. In all reality. And he just, didn't care. He was better, went deeper, got more outs, gave up fewer runs. He did it all without dominating. He only had 4 whiffs on 42 swings. But at the same time, you look at the old box score here, and he I believe gave up 5 hard hit balls in this game, 6 hard hit balls in this game in 6 innings against that right-handed heavy lineup without dominating stuff. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. So Marco, gave the team exactly what they needed. He has been, I don't want to say a stopper quite, but again, you go up against 2 games where if I told you the Mariners were going to go 3-3, you would have said, "Oh, well, okay, they probably lost to Gausman and Scherzer and maybe Barrios, and they beat up on the other guys." And nope, not the case. And that's because of Marco, who just flat out dominated. And, honestly, he might have been able to go 7. He was only at 86 pitches when they took him out. Worked out just fine for the Mariners, though. So no reason to, jump on Scott's service for that decision. So, yeah, he was great.
Yeah, and then, considering how this series had gone up to this point, this was a pretty impressive outing for the offense as well, even with the disappointing end to the first inning. To be able to get out of this one with just 5 innings pitched from Gausman and only 3 strikeouts. I mean, he's, let's see here, he's 12th right now in baseball in Ks per 9 at 10.26. Jesse Winker also walked in his first at bat, which was or second at bat, which was Gausman's 3rd walk of the year, the entire year. He's only walked 3 people, and Jesse Winker was one of them. So to be able to do that, they also produced 4 hard hit balls in this game. Kevin Gausman doesn't give up hard contact that much either. So this all around, what they were able to do against Gausman was perfect. It's exactly what you kind of described on yesterday's episode, that the Mariners pretty much had to be perfect. This had to be one of those games where either Marco, was damn near at his best, and the offense, scored 4 or 5 runs, and they kind of got a bit of both in this one. And this game just really couldn't have gone any better, I would say, for the Mariners, considering the circumstances.
Yeah, they had a really good game plan off of Gausman. It's kind of similar to the game plan we discussed yesterday, where you almost just have to sit on the fastball and be prepared to look foolish on the splitter. The first inning, I don't believe they swung at a single splitter. They were going to take that pitch. They were going to make Gausman beat them with his fastball. And to Gausman's credit, he threw the ball quite well, not quite as well as he had prior to the start, but he threw 40 fastballs. The Mariners swung at 25 of them, and they didn't whiff once. They were on the fastball. They put it in play. They fouled it off. The splitter he threw 37 times. The Mariners only swung at it 18 times, and they only whiffed on it 5 times. That's a 28% whiff rate. You look at Gausman's season mark, he was generating whiffs on the splitter 43% of the time. So, they were able to lay off that pitch. They really went after the fastball. And it was a pretty much an even split from Gausman. He threw 40 fastballs, 37 splitters. And Seattle just wasn't interested in the splitter. They wanted to attack the fastball. And they did. And they had some really good at-bats. And even in the first inning, Julio hits a ball 108 miles an hour, just right to Chapman. So,
and that's the only way that he could have been doubled off in that situation as well,
right.
Hitting that ball 108. Because if that's a slow roller, he's beating that easy. It's 2-0 Mariners.
Right. It's like I said, Gausman only threw 85 pitches in 5 innings. There were a lot of high stress pitches in that 85. So, and like you said, they only struck out 3 times. It was a good, solid performance from a struggling offense. And, we keep saying, well, maybe this will be the one that turns it around. Okay. Do it 3 or 4 games in a row, and then I'll start to buy it. But, it was good to see from an offense that has been, how do I say this nicely?
Inept for the most part.
Sure.
And that's putting it nicely, quite frankly, because there are a lot other words that I could use that I probably shouldn't use on this particular show. Maybe on Control the Zone, but not this show.
Yeah, and it was Frazier and France doing a lot of the heavy lifting. 6 hits between them, 3 through 6.
And by the way, Ty France being able to have a 3-hit game despite wincing every time he was running around the bases. Apparently, by the way, I was in right center field, so I had no clue. I saw him when he slid into second. I think it was a double play or it was a fielder's choice or something.
Right.
He kind of got up a little gimpy, but he ran to the dugout fine. And I told you that, but you had told me that on the broadcast he was visibly in pain. And Blowers was even acknowledging it on the broadcast. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's a hip flexor for him. I believe that's the official diagnosis. he's going to try and work through it. He's in the lineup today. Wouldn't be surprised if we see him DH a little bit. He says it hurts mostly when he swings.
Which is crazy considering that he had 3 hits yesterday, including a home run that was just absolutely smashed.
So yeah, we'll see how it affects him. We saw France try to play through an injury last year. Didn't go too well, but that was an injury to the wrist, which is different. And obviously, Ty is not a burner, nor does he play a position where he has to be extremely quick. So maybe he'll be able to play through it. We'll see. Looked okay yesterday, so hopefully he has another good game tonight.
All right, so we're going to be diving into the minor leagues a little bit and talking some Kyle Lewis, some Evan White, some Emerson Hancock, some Edwin Arroyo, and maybe even Robert Perez, who's been pretty surprising down in Low A Modesto so far. But real quick, a reminder, this episode of Locked On Mariners is brought to you by Built Bar. I love brownies, but do you know what I love more? Brownie batter. Sometimes I eat half the batter just while I'm making the brownies. So imagine if you could lick that brownie spatula clean and get some protein in. Well, you're in luck because Built has a new creation and this one is better than ever. The Brownie Batter Puff. You heard me right. This puff takes protein bars to a whole new level and they're available right now on Built.com. Have you ever tried the Built Puffs? I'm not sure what you're waiting for because Puffs are a chocolate-covered marshmallow protein bar. That's right, delicious flavored marshmallow covered in 100% real chocolate. With 140 calories, 17 grams of protein, and only 7 grams of sugar, Brownie Batter Puffs are the perfect pick-me-up for any day. And all Built Puffs, again, are covered in 100% real chocolate. That means with Built, you can eat healthy and actually enjoy doing it. So go to Built.com, try some Brownie Batter Puffs, or whatever you want. There's a lot of great flavors on Built.com. Use promo code LOCKED15, that's LOCKED15 for 15% off your order. That's LOCKED15 again for your 15% off your order at Built.com. You're listening to Locked On Mariners. Thank you again for making us your first listen of the day. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast with recaps of MLB games with analysis from our local experts, taking fans through the season like no other network. It is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, just like us. So we got a lot going on in the minor leagues for the Mariners right now. Kyle Lewis is still continuing his rehab stint. He played again last night. The decision to call him up is coming up soon. His rehab stint ends officially on Sunday, but they do have the option of keeping him down there, so they don't have to rush that. They don't have to force that situation. Evan White is back now as well, and that's really good news. Obviously, there's no expectations of him coming up to the major leagues at any point this season, really. He's got a lot that he needs to work on. He also needs to prove that he can stay healthy, because that's also been quite an issue for him over the last year and a half. But let's get into these guys. Let's actually talk about Evan White first. What would you like to see out of Evan White? Obviously, I talked about the health and some of the things that he needs to work on, but what does he need to work on down there?
He's got to make more contact. He's striking out way too much. It appeared to me, and we honestly haven't seen Evan White that much. Seems like we have, but we really haven't. But it seems like to me that Evan White's big thing is that he was really selling out for power to try and justify him playing first base in a way. And that's just not necessary. Evan White is going to be a better player if he's hitting 280 with 18 to 20 home runs than if he's hitting, a $190 with 30 home runs. He's just a better player when he's hitting doubles and line drives. So we'll see. I don't know if that was a Mariners thing or if that was a Evan White thing. Ultimately, Evan controls his own development. So we'll see what he decides to do. It's probably going to take him a while just to, readjust. So judging him by his numbers in his first 10 to 20 days, really not worthwhile. You just want to make sure he's healthy and he's able to play back-to-back days. He played 6 innings yesterday, I believe it was, at first base. They're kind of easing him in. Just want to see him play, probably going to not play back-to-back days for a little bit, but there's no rush. After his rehab assignment is over, they will just option him down to AAA. It's not a big deal. And he will get to play there. And he's got to earn his way back to the big leagues. And the way he does that is by putting up numbers, hitting, producing, hitting the ball hard and striking out less. He can't be a 35% strikeout guy. That's not who he is. He can't succeed at that. He needs to be 25% or lower, and you need to be pretty confident that he can carry that level into the big leagues. So I hope he goes back to kind of what his original profile was that, he can pop, 25 home runs some years, but he's mostly going to be in the 20s, low 20s, and he's going to hit 260 to 280 with, plus defense at first base and above average speed and base running ability. He's a much better player that way than what we've seen when he was selling out for power.
You know what that kind of sounds like to me? Mark Canha as a first baseman.
Pretty much. It's pretty Ty France. I mean, France is a better hitter, but yeah, it's not the traditional, like, I'm going to hit 35 home runs, I'm the first baseman type of profile. But yeah, It is very, very Mark Canha, and Canha played some first base in the big league. Yeah.
All right. So then Kyle Lewis still hasn't played back-to-back days in the outfield. There's obviously been the word from Jerry Dipoto that he hasn't responded well to playing out in the outfield. If he can't do that, but I mean, we're seeing the way that he's hitting, and this team could use some sort of jolt offensively. Mm-hmm. If he can only DH, do you still call him up at some point? Or do you just, is it not worth it to you at that point?
No, it's still worth it, but you have to be able to play. And this is a hurdle he hasn't cleared yet, which hopefully he can clear tonight, I believe. I don't believe the Rainiers are off tonight. So he can clear tonight 3 days in a row playing, even if it is just a DH. He hasn't done that yet. He's done 2 days in a row a couple times, but he hasn't done 3 days in a row yet. And he, has had to miss 3 games in a row on 2 separate occasions. So, can he play tonight? Can he give you 3 in a row? If so, then maybe it's worth just bringing him up. It's just really hard to have a guy who can only play 2 games a week, and they can't even be consecutive. You know what I mean? It's just really hard to carry that guy on your roster, no matter how much of an upgrade he is offensively. But you watch Mike Ford, you watch Steven Souza. You watch, Dylan Moore, and it's like, I mean, some of the guys that the Mariners are running through the DH spot, they could use Kyle Lewis. So if he plays tonight, I think that's a really good sign. I still think maybe he doesn't come up on Monday. He doesn't rejoin the team on the homestand on Monday. I think maybe they keep him down for another week. I really do think that they want to see him play in the field at least twice a week. Doesn't have to be back-to-back, but if he can play, 9 innings of left field on Monday and Thursday, and he's able to DH on either Tuesday or Wednesday, I think that's when you'll know he's ready to go. But they could call him up at any time. It's certainly not a bad decision if they do.
And offensively, right now, he's hitting the living hell out of the ball. He had a 5 RBI night the other night with a home run.
To right field.
Yeah. Again.
He just missed another home run to dead center field. Deepest part of the ballpark. I mean, again, we know Lewis is at least a league average bat. At least.
Yeah. And I mean, the opposite field power is ridiculous.
It's legitimate. Yeah.
It's nuts. Everything that we saw in 2020, and that kind of started, like, we really started to see that opposite field power really develop in summer camp in 2020. Mm-hmm. And that's just stayed, and that's continued to just kind of be his thing. That's kind of his bread and butter now. Let's go lower in the minor leagues. So Emerson Hancock made his season debut. He was on a 25 pitch count. What did you hear about his start?
Little shaky, as you might expect. He hasn't pitched in a very long time. Went 1 1/3 innings, I believe. Struck out 2. Gave up 2 runs, 1 earned. I believe it was 3 hits. Only one of them was hit, pretty hard. One of them was a drawn-in infield CNI single type of situation. So he was okay. It sounds like it wasn't great by any stretch, but he was okay. And it's his first time out. He got out of it healthy, as far as we know. He should be back on the mound either this weekend or early next week, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, somewhere in that range, and we'll see where his pitch count's at. But yeah, overall, he threw strikes for the most part, got a few strikeouts, got his feet wet, got his 25 pitches in, and they called it a day. So they're going to be cautious with him. It's the right call, certainly, with the injuries he's faced. So he got back on the mound, and that is definitely a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and then going even lower in the minors, there's a couple of guys in low A Modesto right now who are just hitting the ball a ton. Edwin Arroyo, second round draft pick from last year's class, has been slashing 316, 365, 649 in the month of May, 153 WRC plus. He's hit 4 home runs, 3 doubles, 2 triples. Colby, power was the big question mark with Arroyo because we've felt that his glove would stick at shortstop. He was going to be at least an average glove there, or 2 and above average glove there at shortstop. The hit tool was nice, but there were obviously questions about his ability to hit for power, and now he's hitting for power. And one of those home runs even came off of friend of the Mariners, Cole Irvin, who was on a rehab stint down in the low A the other night, which that brought a smile to my face, especially after coming home from watching the Mariners get shut out. that was a nice little boost to the old mental health there.
Yes, future Seattle Mariner and current Seattle Mariner punching bag, Cole Irvin, served one up. Yeah, Arroyo has been great, and again, it's worth noting that he's 18 years old.
Yeah.
He's a young 18, so he's very young for that age group, and the in-game power is not something that we saw as legitimate or like part of his game. We were hoping maybe he could slap the ball around. Honestly, it's kind of a J.P. Crawford type of vibe to it. It's above average defense at shortstop, good base runner, maybe not a great base stealer, but a good base runner, good speed, slap the ball around, maybe at 260, get on base 33% of the time, and any power you got was a bonus. Well, at 18 years old, he's one of the premier power hitters in the California League, and that's a pretty good sign. It's again, we'll see how it goes. He's still 4 years away from the big leagues, 5 years away from the big leagues, so long way to go in his development. But it's been great to see, and it is a surprise. And if he can continue this for a little while longer, he might end up in Everett before all is said and done. But I think the Mariners are pretty content in letting him play it out, mostly in Modesto, and see what he can do with the whole year down there. He's so young.
So if he keeps on hitting for power, do you think we start talking about top 100 prospect status here?
Maybe, because he is definitely going to stay up the middle, or he definitely can. It's not really a question if he's a major league shortstop. We know that he is going to be good enough to stay there. Now, obviously, sometimes you move to second for position, maybe you're blocked, blah, blah, blah. But he is good enough to play shortstop at the big league level, and that is going to carry a lot of weight because staying up the middle is huge, and most prospects can't do it. We know Arroyo can, and if he's going to hit for power and kind of keep his 50 grade hit tool along the way, then yeah, there's a shot he sneaks into the back end. Probably not this year, but maybe some point next year, midseason re-ranks next year, if he continues to hit like this.
And then Robert Perez Jr. Wow, this guy. Yeah. This guy's been ridiculous. This is his second season down in low A, and in 35 games, he is slashing 293, 77 with a 664 slugging percentage, 158 WRC plus. He's hit 14 bombs already, and last night he hit one 475 feet at 108 miles per hour. And apparently, according to Keaton Galogly, friend of the show and the voice of the Modesto Nuts, said that was a low estimate because the TrackMan wasn't even accounting for the weather there and the wind. That I'm blown away by that. Who is this guy? Like I knew of him, right? I knew the name. I had seen some write-ups about him and stuff like that, but Colby, who the hell is Robert Perez Jr.?
Well, as far as I can tell, his father actually played quite a few years in the minors. And I believe there was a pretty cool call the other day. Keaton got to call where Perez hit I think it was his 8th or 9th home run of the year. And keep in mind, he has 14, and he made this call like 10 days ago. So,
yeah.
But it was the 300th home run that the Perez father-son duo had hit in the minor leagues. So that was pretty cool. His dad,
Nice.
He's got some track record there. Yeah, I don't know much about the guy. I know he played in Modesto last year, and he's pretty good. 15 home runs, hit 282, 359, 456, and they put him back down there. And and now he's hitting, batting average on base pretty much the same, but his slugging's jumped 200 points, and he already has 14 home runs. I know the exit velocity, like the metrics on that, they love this guy. He's a first baseman, but he's only 6'1", 170. Like he's such a weird profile because there's nothing about his stature that suggests he should be dropping bombs like this. But here we are. He's been in the Mariners system now for 5 years. It's probably past time that he gets bumped up to Everett. He's only 21, so it's not it's not like he's a 24. He's not Cade Marlowe, right? So it's probably past time he gets bumped up to Everett, see what he can do, and maybe the Mariners have uncovered a gem here because he does have 48 career home runs, in his minor league career in 300 games. So there's something, and he's getting better every single year he's been in the system. So maybe the Mariners have found a little gem here.
Old Bobby Bombs, as Keaton is now calling him. Yeah, that's so there's some exciting stuff developing in the minors for the Mariners, and that's good, right? Because they need to kind of replenish their ranks now because guys like Julio Rodriguez have graduated, and the status of this farm system right now has naturally lowered, as to be expected. That's not a bad thing, but yeah, and you're seeing that more talent is kind of filling in, though. It's kind of picking up the slack here. It's really nice. It's yeah. I'm very excited about what's going on down there, especially down in Modesto and Everett. Both of those teams are really fun. We haven't even talked about guys like Bryce Miller.
Yep,
and
dominating. Yep.
Yeah, Levi Stout has been really, really good down in Arkansas as well. Yeah.
Right. Jake Kingsbury, I believe his name is.
Jimmy Kingsbury.
Jimmy, yes.
Yeah.
He's been pitching very well as well. And hey, you know what? Just Sam Carlson made his second outing of the year the other day. Looked pretty good. So it's fun time right now.
All right, so Mariners going down to Fenway for a series that's always just utterly weird with the Red Sox. So we're going to be talking about that. It's a fun pitching matchup tonight. We got George Kirby making his third career start against the 42-year-old Rich Hill. So complete opposite ends of the spectrum. We're going to be getting into all of that in just a moment, but real quick, a reminder this episode of Locked On Mariners is brought to you by BetOnline. Our partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball scores, fights, and even next season's NFL futures. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline is where the game starts. So, George Kirby making his third career start against Rich Hill, whose nickname I cannot repeat on this show, but I could probably say it on Control the Zone. It's a great nickname. Just probably can't say it on here, or else I'll get yelled at probably.
What is it?
Find out on Control the Zone later today. What
is it?
You should subscribe to Control the Zone. Stop pestering me.
Say it.
So the Red Sox have been bad this year.
To
start, they're in fourth right now in the AL East. They are 15 and 22. Yes, the Mariners have also been bad this year to start. Trevor Story has been disappointing for the Red Sox. So, of course, naturally, he's going to pull a Manny Margot.
Series. Big series.
Yeah. This is gonna be the Manny Margot. This is gonna be the Reese Hoskins of this series, because of course it's going to be. But yeah, a lot of guys, as you are dying on the opposite end here, but a lot of guys are struggling for the Red Sox right now. Kike Hernandez, of course, has been off to a slow start. He was obviously a big part of their postseason run last year. Jackie Bradley Jr., who they traded Hunter Renfroe for some reason. I still don't understand that trade whatsoever.
No idea.
Yeah, I still don't get that trade whatsoever. Jackie Bradley Jr. has been, good defensively, but completely, utterly useless offensively.
He's been Jackie Bradley Jr.
Yeah, Alex Verdugo has been terrible.
Yeah.
Bobby Dahlbeck has been terrible. Like,
Not that surprising.
But from some of their bigger names, they're not getting a lot of production. Obviously, guys like Xander Bogaerts, JD Martinez, Rafael Devers, those guys are still producing. But outside of those three, this offense really hasn't been able to get anything going for the Red Sox. And so in the pitching, not spectacular either. Nathan Eovaldi has significantly regressed. They went into this offseason, they signed Rich Hill, they signed Michael Wacha, and they signed James Paxton, who still isn't pitching. That didn't really move the needle for me. We talked about how weird the offseason was for the Red Sox. So this is a really weird team, a team that should be better than it is, and a team that probably should have put itself in a position to be better than it is.
Felt like they really cheaped out.
Like
they put all their eggs on the Trevor Story basket,
and that was kind of like a thing that fell into their lap.
Yeah,
that wasn't really like I would assume that wasn't necessarily a priority of theirs to start this thing off.
Didn't seem like it. Now he's running a 31% strikeout rate, 80 WRC plus. Now look, the Red Sox they have too many good hitters for this to continue. I mean, like, Enrique Hernandez is better than we've seen. Alex Verdugo is certainly better than he's performed right now. I like Verdugo. I think he's a really cool player. But he's put up a 52 WRC plus. It's going to turn around. And it just feels like with the luck the Mariners have had this year, it's inevitably going to turn around starting tonight. Tell me I'm wrong. It doesn't feel like that. But
this series is always weird in Boston.
Feels like a trap. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Boston's struggling. Okay. Yeah, and all I'm asking is like, hey, let's get 2 out of 3 or 2 out of 4. Let's get home with a 500 road trip. Tough road trip, go 500. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
All I'm asking is for 2, and it feels like they're going to get swept. I don't know.
Yeah, this series is, like I said, it's always weird because you got, the Green Monster, of course, in left, and then you got the short porch in right, and then you got the weird triangle in center field and all that. Yeah, it's such a weirdly built ballpark. Obviously a legendary ballpark, but a very weird looking ballpark.
In terms of aesthetics, it's like middle of the road though, despite all that.
Yeah, it's definitely not trash, but it's like it's mid tier. It's like a mid tier ballpark.
Yeah, it's better than like Toronto and Oakland.
Yeah.
Texas.
The Trop.
Yeah, it's better than all those, but like like just in terms of like ballpark beauty, I'm always like,
yeah, it's like it would be somewhere in the 15 range for me, probably.
Don't get me wrong, I'd still want to go. Like it's a really cool ballpark.
Oh, for sure.
But it's
plus the walk, like the walk to the ballpark through that little village or whatever that they have there. Yeah, that's cool.
It's very cool. Like don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to trash. Just like aesthetically, watching it on TV, like if you didn't know any of the history and you just were watching that, you'd be like,
especially when it's rainy and gray and like it just it looks bad. But
I don't think day games look too good in Boston either, to be fair. So I don't know. Like I said, it's a ballpark I definitely want to go to, and it's better than some of the modern ballparks, which is frankly disturbing that the Texas Rangers couldn't beat the aesthetic of Fenway Park. But whatever, man. It's always fun to go to Fenway, and anything can happen. No lead is safe. Kind of adds to the wildness that can happen
And the
routine
Mariners
fly
have
ball.
fallen on the wrong side of that too many times before.
Yeah.
I believe there was what was it, 2013? Didn't they blow like an 8-run lead in the ninth or something like that?
Something
Yeah,
like that. Ugh.
yeah.
I
I
mean,
remember
they
that.
took 2 of 4 last year, so
Yeah.
they
And one
hung
of
in
those
there.
starts was Nick Margavagis, who couldn't make it out of the first inning, and that was when he got hurt, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I remember flexing through very well in his start last year
Mm.
in Boston. So, yeah, we'll see how it all goes. Be really great to get tonight's, but Rich Hill is actually one of the guys that's actually performing on this team. So,
Mm-hmm.
we'll see what happens there.
This team has been weird. They got utterly destroyed by the Astros 2 nights ago. They gave up 9 runs in the second inning. Kyle Tucker hit, I think, 2 grand slams, or he hit the second of the Astros grand slams, something like that.
I know that the Astros had 5 home runs in 1 inning.
Yeah. Jeremy Pena went over the Green Monster. They played highlights of it during the in between innings at the ballpark the other night. Yeah, so.
But I would say the pitching matchups do appear to favor the Mariners. That's ever mattered. Certainly not the last week that hasn't mattered whatsoever, but Hill versus Kirby, Waka versus Ray, Whitlock versus Flexen, and Evaldi versus Gilbert. Like, that's advantage Seattle, but that doesn't matter. Come on.
Yeah,
we know better.
No. And it just takes one swing of the bat from an Alex Verdugo or a JD Martinez or a Rafael Devers to or Xander Bogaerts. There's still a lot of talent in this lineup. There's still a lot of talent on this team. Trevor Story as well, I'm sure. I'm preparing myself. I am mentally preparing myself for Trevor Story to just break out in this series.
So I know we got to run, but real fast here. Let's fast forward to Monday, and obviously we're on tomorrow's show. We'll talk about tonight's game and yada yada.
Yeah.
Let's fast forward here. Let's say we get on Monday, right? We get on the show Monday, and the Mariners have split the 4-game series against Boston. They're coming back home. How do you feel about the series? How do you feel about the road trip overall?
Road trip, I think, all things considered, how bad the offense looked at times. Making it out 500, I feel pretty good about that. Like, that's like, okay, you survived. All right.
It feels like a 55 grade road trip to me.
Yeah,
considering everything. Like,
that's a win to me. Considering everything that happened, that feels like a very 2021 Mariners kind of outcome.
Survive on the road. Yeah, kind of get back, try and build some momentum. Yeah.
Schedule will start to get a little bit easier here.
A little bit.
soon. More so in June than towards the end of this month.
August is the money month, by the way. But it's certainly got to play Houston again. But I'd feel okay about it.
Yeah.
I was hoping 4-6. Like that was like, if they go 4-6, I'm okay. Like, it's not a disaster. So
if they somehow come out of Boston winning 3 or even sweeping in 4, like, that would be massive. Which, but I mean, like, hey, there is a possibility here that if they do sweep, they would get back to 500. So who knows?
That possibility certainly does exist. Yes.
Yeah. Now, is it likely?
By the way, just to clarify here for everybody. 500 right now, if the season ended today, would get you in the playoffs. Just throwing that out there. Doesn't matter. But the 7th seed right now, I believe, would be the White Sox at 18 and 19. Oh, no, sorry, the Blue Jays at 20.
There's only 6 seeds, so.
6?
Yeah, there's only 6.
Oh, yeah.
6 playoffs.
You're right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're right. So, yep, I'm off.
I've seen you say that on Twitter a couple times now too. I think you've been operating under the impression that there were 7 teams. Yeah.
No, because it's weird. I knew there were 6 for some reason. Okay, whatever. Either way,
it's all good. All right. Real quick before we hop off, George Kirby. What are you hoping to see?
Yeah, just continue to be aggressive with the fastball. It's kind of a varied lineup. It's not right-handed heavy or anything like that. So it's going to be important for him to have the slider and the changeup. We'll see how he can manage his emotions. It's, again, first career start on Mother's Day, second career start against his, in his basically his hometown. And now his third career start, he gets to go, pitch in Fenway Park. It's been a pretty eventful three 3-start stretch for George Kirby. So just control his emotions, try and keep the Mariners in the game. He did a good job of this last time around. I'm sure he'll be fine, but 5-6 innings, 3-4 runs at most, and just kind of give the Mariners a shot to win this game, and hopefully they can do something off of Rich Hill.
Fenway Park. All right, it's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. For Colby Patnode, I'm Ty Gonzalez. We'll be back tomorrow to cover tonight's action at Fenway, get you set for Game 2 and more. In the meantime, be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Dane Gonzalez, that's DANEGNZLZ, and Colby at CPAT11, that's CPAT11. You can also find all that stuff in the description of this episode. And thank you again for making us your first listen of the day, just like you do here every day. Now make your second listen of the day Locked On MLB. That's where Paul Francis Sullivan, and please call him Sully, brings you his unique perspective on the Major League's present and past. It's free wherever you get your podcasts, just like us. So have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we will see you tomorrow. Peace.